And class is in session, folks. We're live here inside the Suburban Chevrolet Make the Choice studios. Sam Webb, Ira Weintraub, in studio again this week. It tells you the significance of the last game or the game to come. In this particular instance, really talking about the last game. Marcus Ray in studio for some Rays of Light. Ray, how you doing, man?
Good morning, Sam. Good morning, Ira. Pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Each and every highway.
So did you listen to the one last week?
Yeah, I listened to it.
And you realized the music really wasn't playing.
It really wasn't playing. Sorry, bud. My way. See, I hit it a little better that time, Ira.
He's been practicing.
The homecoming king is in town, baby.
All right, so Marcus, 35-11. The Wolverines fall to Michigan State. Credit to the opponent. They took it to Michigan again, and so much to get to. I start out by crediting the opponent because I don't want what I've said all week about that game to sound like a slight to them because they did their thing. But I felt like a lot of what happened to Michigan in that contest was self-inflicted. The turnovers were I call them unforced, man. I do. From breakdowns on Michigan's side as opposed to being under heavy pressure or you got hit and fumbled or it was pressure in your face and you threw an interception. That wasn't the kind of deal for them on offense. And then you had 7 drop passes. I actually counted 8, but they said 7 drop passes. And then on defense, you had some guys in position to make plays that didn't make them. You had execution problems across the board. And when I looked at it, certainly talked about those players, it being on them. To make those, to complete those plays, to make those plays. And yet I also said when you have that many guys having those kind of breakdowns, it's not about their preparedness because they had a good plan, but about readiness. And that ultimately is a reflection on coaches. So, again, you're talking about both sides of the coin here for Michigan in that game.
Well, it's very disheartening to see a team fall apart on both sides of the ball. And, the problem with Michigan is they can't put 4 quarters together. Now, offensively, they got back to what they do, which is make a few plays, like on offense. They'll have success, and then things will start to happen bad. For example, they came out on the first play of the game, nice little rollout pass, half roll, because they were expecting that same 6-man pressure, 2 guys underneath and 3 deep, which leaves the outside wide open. Nussmeier expected that, found Funchess on about a 9 or 10-yard gain on the first pass of the game. Michigan gets all the way down to the 30-yard line, and next thing you know, Devin and he and the running back missed the exchange, and then there's a fumble, and then there's your turnover. Of course, the turnovers were unforced, and like I stated last week, I think Michigan State's getting away with murder because they only run 3 defenses. I think their offense is very predictable, but there's nothing anybody can do about it, especially when you don't execute. Michigan struggled mightily moving the ball. I was standing right on the sideline, and I kept looking at the stats, and I said, wow, they're still under 70 total yards, minus 2 yards rushing. So the performance wasn't as bad as last year offensively, but it still wasn't good as far as being able to run the ball. In that game, you have to be able to run the ball. It's a tough man contest. All right. I expected the score to be somewhere around 31-13. When somebody asked me, I said, I think that it'll be close like it was last year. There'll be a play in the second quarter that'll spring the game open by 2 scores, and then the better team is going to wear Michigan down. That's just the way I saw it. Defensively, I thought they missed a lot of tackles. I thought they left some plays on the field where Greg Madison called a corner blitz, and the safety just played poor technique. You don't zone turn whenever you're a safety and you have to go over top and play man-to-man on a number 1 wide receiver when you come off the hash. So fundamentally, there was just some things there that didn't give Michigan a chance to win at all. When you miss blocks like Michigan did from time to time in the run game, I watched it. Doug Nussmeier calls a counter play. Shalik Calhoun does a great job of wrong arming the ball where you come off the edge when the tackle blocks down and you hit the first puller with your outside shoulder and it forces the ball to bounce and guys start falling, then you free up your linebackers. So I think you saw one team executing and playing with more passion and energy, and then you saw another team who was just out there. And I thought the defense held up for the most part, which I expected in the first half. But then later on in the game, things just kind of went downhill.
So let's start off first talking about quarterback play, because again, I've been quite vocal, as have you, about who's the guy that gives them the best chance to win. At the same time, you got to talk about the other side of it. He didn't give them much of a chance to win on Saturday with the mistakes that he made. Now again, we'll get to the mistakes that were made when he did make good plays. There were some throws that he made that were just flat dropped. So his guys didn't always help him out a ton. But let's talk about the mistakes that he made during the game on Saturday.
Well, see, the conversation changes every 7 days in football. All right, it's on a game-to-game basis. A month ago, Devin Gardner gave Michigan the best chance to win, but that was a month ago. Right now, he does not give Michigan the best chance to win because he doesn't take care of the football at all now. I think he did make some nice throws. There was a post pass across the middle to Darboh, and he made some other nice throws. But then the carelessness with the football. There was one play where he was falling down and just tossed it across his body across the middle. Just threw it across the middle, falling down blindly. That was a turnover waiting to happen. You flick the pass on the shovel pass. Nobody was there but green shirts. So it's just a matter. I don't know if he's playing scared, if there's a lack of confidence, or if it's just to the point where everybody not everybody, but maybe the quarterback is starting to tank it. Shane got in through one ball that should have been caught by Norfleet. It was a great ball. And the other thing about Devin, I think his ankle was still hurt. That's what it looked
there's no
like.
question about that. Yeah.
So he was immobile. So he whenever he got pressure, he didn't think to run. And I think he just threw the ball wherever, and I think he got confused. And just like I showed you on film with that pick six, he misread the coverage. He saw the middle of the field closed. But when you see three safeties in between the hashes, that should tell you that one of them, that is probably a cover two defense. If the guy in the middle doesn't go straight back to defend the post, then the middle of the field is going to be open. And so Devin looked pre-snap. He saw a safety in the middle of the field, but that safety never got any depth. And that safety was responsible for Jake Butt down the middle. Jake ran right by this guy. Devin never looked at him because his pre-snap read told him Jake wasn't going to be open. But it's not how they line up, it's how they wind up. And so I think that's where, in this offense this year, Devin Gardner has regressed. I don't think he understands post-snap reads. I don't think he has confidence. And then whenever things break down and he can't run, then he's just going to throw it up. And Michigan State had a good defense dialed up on that play, but they let a guy, Williamson, who I think is an average football player, get away with murder. He stole one, got his confidence back. All he did was sat backside, and he tried to double team Funches for a hot second. And then he looked up a crossing route, and there was Norfleet, lo and behold. And Devin didn't see him, and it's called stealing second base. It's like a pitcher being on first base. When he's getting ready to pitch, he can't really look over his shoulder too far and see how far the guy is running off first to second. And then Williamson stole second. So I just think there's a carelessness there. Devin was immobile, and I think his confidence is down. And so at this point, I think you make a change for the last four games because the Big Ten race is over for you. I was fighting for Devin when you had a chance to win the Big Ten, like before the Minnesota game. But I can't fight that fight anymore right now.
All right, so let's talk about – all right, so once you move past the bad plays he made some good ones, made some good throws in there, and then you had this rash of drops that, man, the opportunity to build some momentum just completely is sapped when not only your best guy is dropping balls, but also – when you have an opportunity for big plays down the football field, that's dropped too.
Yeah, I think the drop passes really hurt Michigan's chances to make big plays. But then also, when Michigan got across the 50-yard line, they caught a halfback pass. And that was poorly executed. Neither receiver sold the fake. They both were kind of lollygagging off the line of scrimmage. So to go along with the drop passes, I think you had a lack of effort out of the wide receiver position. Like, if you're going to throw a halfback pass, the guy you're throwing it to, he at least has to sell the run play. Fake like you're going to block a safety, chase them for a couple of steps, maybe stutter step, and then burst. But Michigan State was all over that play. And then to take it to the next level, the running back should have kept the ball. The middle of the field was wide open. An older, seasoned, more savvy running back would have saw that Mike linebacker was running after him, and it would have essentially turned into like a draw play. He would have ran right past him, but then he didn't have time. Smith didn't have time to get it, flick it back to Devin, and then block the same guy that blitzed, and then that's essentially who caused the sack. So, to go along with the drops, I don't think the wide receivers ran great routes or showed great effort every play. And when you start to get a little discouraged at the wide receiver position, then the quarterback doesn't have anybody to throw to. So it all kind of works hand in hand. I don't think anybody on the field trusts the offensive line, whether you're a receiver, a quarterback, or a running back. And so when you have that going on,
I think the thing in that, man, of all those groups, the group that played better than maybe they didn't play great. Not suggesting that at all, but better than they had played. I thought the O-line. I thought the O-line did some things in there. I thought there were some creases in there that weren't always hit. Devin said as much after the game. He said, "Man, I got to read the holes better." He said, "I did not do a good job of reading in the run game in this contest because there were some things left on the field." And then from a protection standpoint, did Devin see some pressure? Sure. But for the most part, man, on the plays, at least on the turnover plays, those weren't plays where he was under pressure.
Exactly. I think the offensive line did okay. I mean, they were decent. They gave Devin plenty of time to throw the football. Like I said, on the play to Jake Butt, Michigan State only rushed 3 guys. And they took a backer and they spied the running back. Devin had time. He slid to his left, made the wrong read. He wasn't running around for his life like he was last year, and I think Michigan State didn't. They weren't able to run those cross dog A gap blitzes up the middle like they did last year to hurt Michigan. So I think the offensive line knew who to block. Okay, they knew who to block.
Which is progress.
Yeah, which is a lot of progress. I mean, but at the same time, they can't recreate the line of scrimmage in the run game. So when you got Shalik Calhoun coming off the line, blowing up 2 guys on the counter play, spilling the football, linebackers running free. Then on the play with Northfleet, I think it was like the second or third play of the game when they ran a little flick pass to Northfleet. That was out the gate. Kyle Kalis missed the block. He missed the block on the linebacker. Mason Cole couldn't get to the backside linebacker to cut him off. Those 2 blocks would have sprung Northfleet. So the offensive line did okay, but if they would have played their best game or really blocked who they were supposed to block or could get to them, then Michigan's offense would have looked completely different, So I think sometimes Nussmeier runs things that a team that thinks they're good can run. Like if you're at Alabama and you call a counter play, a gap scheme where you block down and pull people, you're basically saying we're better than you. We're going to line up and block you. And those are the type of plays he runs at times. But Michigan's not better than Michigan State in the front 7. So there's going to be missed assignments, missed blocks, and then those plays don't execute the way you draw them up. So I think if Doug would have kept using the little rollout pass and understanding when Michigan State was in what defense, like I said, Michigan State plays 3 defenses, 3 of them. They got this one zone blitz. They have a base cover 4 press solo that they run, and then when you go 5 wides, they go to a cover 4 where the cornerback to the field, he kind of plays in between the 1 and the 2 receiver, and then they match up everything underneath. But I think if you spread Michigan State out and make them have to defend the quarterback, run from time to time, and go 5 wides and just kind of dink and dunk, I think you can get them. And I think Urban Meyer is going to do that in 2 weeks.
Yeah, but Michigan wasn't in the position to have to defend the quarterback run, though, right?
Exactly right. And they knew that. Michigan State knew that Devin Gardner was not going to be a threat to run the ball. And for 2 reasons. Number 1, because he was injured. And then number 2, he didn't want to get his head took off. It's just the way it goes. I mean, there's a fear factor that goes with playing the quarterback position when you know you might not be as protected as you would like, and then the other guy is going to try to take your head off.
So that kind of speaks to attitude, and I want to talk to you about that on the other side, because there was definitely an attempt to set a tone attitude-wise or set the tone attitude-wise before the game took place. Didn't work out that way. Couldn't really back that up. But the aftermath, the hand-wringing over it, I want to get Marcus Ray's take on it when we return here on the Michigan Insider on Sports Talk 1050 WTKA, the official